Hi there, this is going to be a quick video just going over the work rate problems for rational expressions. So we talked about how there's a couple different types of word problems for rational expressions, and this one is called work rate. They are pretty easy as they are all set up almost the exact same way almost every time. So this video really will be pretty quick because it is a fairly simple way of solving this type of word problem. So example 1 is already pretty much done for us, so I probably won't take too much time to go over. I might just explain some of the work that's already on your sheet. So Bill's garden hose can fill the swimming pool in 12 hours. His neighbor has a hose that can fill the pool in 15 hours. How long will it take to fill the pool using both hoses? And then the first thing it says is let T equal the time in hours for both hoses, because that is our unknown. We know how long it takes with each of the hoses individually. We don't know how long it will take using both hoses. So that's our unknown. So we let T equal the time in hours with both hoses. Then for Bill's hose, it is one pool every 12 hours. That's a rate. So we write that as 1/12. His neighbor's hose can do one pool every 15 hours. Again, that's a rate, so we write that as 1/15. And then similarly, how long it will take to do one pool with both of their hoses, that's also a rate. So we're going to write that as one pool in T amount of hours. One pool every T amount of hours, so 1/T. And then basically our equation is explained out right here. So the rate of Bill's hose, that's our 1/12, plus the rate of his neighbor's hose, that's our 1/15, is equal to the rate of both. And that's our 1/T. And that should make sense. When both hoses are working together, it would equal the time for both hoses. And that's pretty much it. So I don't think I'll go over that one in much more detail. The only thing I think I will show you really quickly is just finding your lowest common denominator for this question, because I do think some people still need a little bit of help with that, especially with number ones for some reason. A lot of the times if it's a polynomial, you know to factor it, but when we get to the numbers, you don't think to do that. And that's something you can do as well. You can look at your factors of 12 and 15. You could break it down into prime factors like you should have learned in grade 10, or you can just look at factors, especially if you can kind of recognize what factors they have in common. So for instance, I would break 12 down as 3/4. And I would break 15 down as 3/5. And then when I'm looking for my lowest common denominator, I start with what factors I have in the very first one. So I start by just writing down whatever factors are in the very first expression. So 3/4. So 3/4. Then I move on to the second expression and I look, okay, so 3/5. Well, I already have a 3, so I don't need to include that again, but I don't have a 5, so I need to include that 5 in my lowest common denominator. And then I move on to the last expression, and that is a t, and there is no t in my lowest common denominator, so I must include that as well. And then you could multiply all those together as well to find what the actual number is. So 3 times 4 times 5, you could multiply together. Whereas when we have brackets of factors, like b plus 5, you don't really want to multiply them back in. You want to keep them factored. So the bonus with this one is you can actually keep it in both forms. So I'm going to keep it written as 3/4/5/t, and then I'm also going to multiply that 3 times 4 times 5 to give me the 60t. And it just sort of allows me to look at it in both forms. All right, and then from there, when you're multiplying by whatever factors are missing, you still have it broken down, and it makes it easier to multiply by whatever factors are missing. So I won't go through the whole thing, but I'll just explain what I mean doing the first one. So the first fraction here has 3 and 4 as factors. So if I look at my lowest common denominator, 3, 4, and then 5 and t. So 5 and t are missing. So it means I have to multiply by 5 and t. And if I'm going to multiply the bottom by 5 and t, I have to multiply the top by 5 and t. And you would continue going in this fashion for the rest of the question. Again, I'll probably stop there simply because I'm going to go through example 2 and 3 in a good amount of detail. So you should get the rest of the process from those. Plus, we've been solving for a while now, so hopefully you would know how to continue that question anyway. Also, the answer key will be in Teams, so you could always check that out for the rest of the work. All right, example 2. Molly can wash and wax 1 car in 3 hours. Timmy can wash and wax 1 car in 4 hours. If they work together, how long would it take to wash and wax 1 car? Again, this time says let T be the time in hours. We could also say let T be the time to wash and wax 1 car, or sorry, the time in hours for both of them to wash and wax 1 car. We could word it like that too. Or we can leave it as is. So let T equal the time in hours. Then we want to break down Molly's time. So Molly's time is her rate, right? So Molly can wash and wax 1 car every 3 hours. So 1/3. Timmy's time, he can wash and wax 1 car every 4 hours. 1/4. And then the question again is asking if they work together, how long would it take them to wash and wax 1 car? So 1/3 plus 1/4 is an expression representing them working together. And that is going to equal 1/t. That's going to tell us t being the time it would take if they both did it. And then we want to do our lowest common denominator, starting with the first factor for the denominator. So we write down that 3. I move on to the next one, 4. I don't have 4 yet, so I have to include the 4. Move on to the last one. I don't have a t, so I have to include that as well. Again, I'm going to keep it in both forms. So 3 times 4 is 12. So I'll leave it as 3 by 4 by t, or 12t. Non-permissible value would be that t can't equal 0. And then from there, again, I want to get it over a common denominator. So this first fraction already has a factor of 3. So what factors are missing? 4 and t. So I will times by 4t on the bottom to make it that 12t, which means I have to times by the top, or times the top by 4t as well. The second fraction already has a 4, so I'm going to multiply by 3t on the top and the bottom. And the last fraction already has t, so it's just missing the 12. So I will multiply by 12 on the top and the bottom. And then I have 4t over 12t plus 3t over 12t equals 12 over 12t. So because they all have a common denominator, it means that all my denominators are equal. Therefore, my numerators must also be equal. So I can essentially eliminate those denominators. Now I'm just left with the numerators in order to solve. So 4t plus 3t is 7t. 7t equals 12. T is being multiplied by 7. If I want to solve for t, I do the opposite of multiplying by 7. The opposite of multiplying by 7 is dividing by 7. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So notice on this side, right, that's our simplifying. Those cancel. We are left with just t, and then t is equal to 12 over 7. And the way that you would answer this is with a sentence. So you would just say, if they worked together, they could wash and wax 1 car in 12 over 7 hours. That's it. So for example 3, wow, my writing is not good on this. Sorry. For example 3, I will probably just kind of set it up for you and then leave it for you to solve as well. So example 3 says, suppose one painter can paint the entire house in 12 hours. So painter 1 can paint one house in 12 hours. And the second painter takes 8 hours. So one house in 8 hours. How long would it take the two painters together to paint the house? So again, we're going to let T equal the time. We could say the time in hours. We could say the time for both of them to paint the house in hours. So the time in hours when they work together, or just the time in hours. Both are good. All right. And then for our equation, how long will it take for the two painters together to paint the house? Again, our expression will just be 1 over 12 plus 1 over 8, because that should obviously represent them working together. They're 2 times added together. And that will equal 1 over t. Okay, so again, you'll find that lowest common denominator, get everything over the lowest common denominator, and then follow your steps for solving. And you could break 12 and 8 down into their factors to help you find that lowest common denominator. All right, I hope that helps. And again, all the answers are in Teams, so you can check that out there.